Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Pranzata podcast. I am your host, Andrea Pranzatelli, and today is episode number 27 of my podcast. It's just going to be a solo episode today with just me. I'm not going to be doing a question and answer section today. I'm going to save that for the next solo episode, but I do have a lot on my mind, a lot to talk about. I haven't done a podcast, solo podcast in a few weeks, so there's a lot to talk about. So before I get into it, I have a list of things I want to go over with you guys. But if you're new to this channel, to this podcast, on this podcast, I typically interview comedians, musicians, and I also do solo podcasts like I am today, where I just kind of go over my thoughts for the week, some controversial thoughts or weird thoughts, that type of thing. And I don't know, I just like to dive deep into conversation, personal topics on this channel. So if you're into that kind of thing, don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit like. I also do music videos. I've been doing more podcasts than music videos, but if you're a musician fan, if you're into music, you're going to enjoy that as well. And let's get into it. So first thing, I want to just make a quick announcement. I'm doing an official room change for my podcast. If you haven't noticed, I don't have my blue wall today. It's going to be goodbye to the blue wall room. So for those of you who love the blue wall as much as I do, I love that room, but there was a lot of issues like in that room that I had, doing my podcast in there. For one, the room was rather small. It's a spare bedroom in my apartment and it's a small bedroom. So, I just felt like the energy was very claustrophobic in there, which made conversations a little difficult. So that was one thing. The other thing was it was getting really annoying because like this room that I'm in right now is basically my music room. I have my piano in here, and whenever I do like a music video recording, I always do it in here. So it was getting really annoying to like hop from room to room constantly, because I only have one laptop. So whenever I wanted to record a podcast, I would have to like jump to the other room. And whenever I wanted to do a music video, I'd have to like reset up my things in this room. And I really just want like my life flow to be a lot more steady. I just want things to go smoothly. I want to get to a point where like, if I have friends over for the day and I'm just like, hey, you want to do a podcast? And they're just like, really, right now? Yeah. Like I want things to just like flow a lot more smoothly. Another thing, this is like kind of a funny note, but because that other podcast room was like a spare bedroom, it's also close to my other bedroom. So it did like sometimes like when I had male guests over, it felt a little awkward. Like, hey, my bedroom's right there. You want to go in there after this podcast? You know what I mean? Like, it just like I didn't want to give off that like vibe to people. So this is such a better decision. I'm going to miss having the podcast in that room, but what I'm going to do with that room now is I'm going to basically make it like a lounge room. I've been in this apartment for almost a year now, and it's been a struggle to financially get everything together. By the way, Neo's here, my black cat. Oh, he just left. But it's been a financial struggle to get everything together as far as like setting up my apartment the way I want it. I haven't had a couch or a TV this entire year. So what I'm going to do to that room is I'm going to basically make it like a little lounge room. I'm going to get a couch in there. I'm going to get a TV against the wall. And it's just going to be, a place for if I have friends over and we want to watch something on YouTube or whatever, we can go in there to watch it. Or it could be like kind of like a place for me to sit and have my morning coffee on the couch and like maybe like write notes, write music, write comedy. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to plan to get that set up with like a little couch and a little TV. And it could also be a place like if I have friends crash and they're too drunk to drive home, it could be like they could crash on the couch or whatever type of thing. So yeah, that's what's going to be happening with that room. So quick update with that. Now on to the topics. So first topic, sexism in comedy. So I wanted to bring this up. I'm not like a hyper feminist type of person, but I do notice sexism in comedy and some challenges being a female comedian. So I wanted to talk about Nikki Glaser. She just made a post on her Instagram recently talking about how, and by recently I mean like a few days ago. So I would actually just read the quote to you directly, but I'm using my phone to film this. So I would press pause and look it up. So you can kind of like follow along with what I'm talking about. So her name is Nikki Glaser, Nikki. Press pause and look it up on Instagram. And then like return back to this video so we could talk about it. But you're going to want to look for a picture where she's kind of like, I feel like she's performing and she's wearing like cheetah pants or something, like cheetah shorts. I don't remember exactly, but she's like going like this. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. But anyways, so go do that and come right back. So she made a quote basically on there, and I don't remember the exact quote, like I said, but if you just read it, you know what I'm talking about. And she wrote something about how she's really tired of, in comedy, men saying that as a female, you're taking like the easy way out if you're writing jokes about sex. And I kind of wanted to bring this up because I have personally noticed something interesting with myself becoming a comedian. And, you know, it's only been a year in the making now, but, you know, I've been getting out there and doing more work with it and everything like that. And I've noticed something interesting. I've noticed that as a female musician, I get a lot of respect. Like I get a lot of respect from men. And I have noticed as like a female comedian, I get far less respect from men. So I just find that interesting. And I wanted to bring that up because I'm trying to like, I guess find, you know, because I've been doing music for a long time. So I'm kind of more comfortable with who I am as a musician. As a comedian, I'm pretty new. So I'm trying to figure out like who I am, what's my voice on stage. Like it's a process that takes 5 to 10 years, quite frankly. And I just wanted to bring that up because it really is true. Like for some reason, as a society, we aren't as evolved to accepting women in comedy. And I'm not speaking for everybody because, to be completely honest, like male comics are very supportive of female comics for the most part. But I'm talking about like the listener, you know, women like Nikki Glaser, they get so much hate from the male listener. And if you go back to that like Instagram post that I was talking about and you look at the comment section, I was like expecting to see all this like, yeah, girl, get it, like type of stuff. I was like, I was really surprised with how much like negativity she got in the comment section. Like, shut up, bitch. Like, you're not, like, there was like all kinds of just like hate in the comment section of that post. So, you know, it's just so interesting. Like, there's this perspective about female comedians, attractive female comedians in particular, that if a woman is beautiful or sexy or attractive, and she goes on stage and talks about sex, that somehow she's taking the easy way out. And I don't know. I've heard that opinion like spouted so much from male listeners. But I can tell you, like, male comedians, like if you're a professional male comedian, you would never have that point of view because you're out there doing the work yourself. And you know how much of a challenge it is to do this type of work. And it really goes a lot. You can't just go on stage and talk about sex and then just automatically get a laugh. There's like so much that goes into it. There's like the cadence in how you speak, the way you interact with crowds, the way that you read a room. I actually have to really work on that myself. I'm like terrible at like reading the room and stuff like that. But like, there's just so much that goes into it. Like I said, the cadence of how you speak, you don't just like go on stage and talk about dicks and get a laugh. Like, it's like how you talk about dicks on stage, like the pauses that you take. There's just so much technique that goes into telling jokes and commanding that kind of energy from a room that it is oh, Neo, come back. I want to get Neo back. It is such a stupid perspective to have that. And the only people who would think that would be non-comedians. Like, you know, and I don't know. It's just, I feel like this is like a deeper topic that's going to take a longer conversation to even get into or talk about. But it really is kind of like making me, it's kind of like pushing me to like understand myself on stage like who I want to be as a female comedian as well. I don't even, it's fucking ridiculous that I even have to say female comedian, but that's really kind of like how it still is, like in comedy with females. Cause like I was saying before, I've noticed that I get so much more respect as a female musician than I do as a comedian. Like as a musician, people view it as like this respectable thing that I did. I worked hard towards like learning the piano, and it makes me intelligent and like someone to look up to and respect. But as a comedian, like if I talk about sex on stage, I'm sort of just like assumed to be like this tomboy, this like sloppy, like slutty, like they, oh, here he came back. There's just sort of this like stereotype that goes with being a female comic and talking about sex. Like they just think like, oh, if there's person jokes about sex, then, you know, they're just like this sloppy, like one of the dudes like farting and burping and like sucking dicks. Like I don't know. It's just not that the dudes are sucking dicks, but you know what I'm trying to say. And it's just like, I have noticed it. I did want to bring it up. And it's kind of making me think like as my stage character, like as who I become on stage, it kind of makes me want to play more into the feminine. Like I almost want to start dressing super feminine on stage. Like, and I'm really not like that in real life, but just as like a stage persona, like I kind of want to start like just dressing like with pink dresses and high heels and flowers in my hair, and then like going up there and saying dick jokes, because I kind of want to just like break this stupid stereotype that if you're a funny and attractive female, that you're taking the easy way out if you talk about sex. And I think that's ridiculous. I don't understand it. I don't understand why sense of humor is considered a masculine trait. I don't know. It's like a deeper conversation that I think I want to get into more with another podcast guest as well. I actually have a guest coming this Wednesday, so I kind of want to like talk about it with him and, you know, get more into it. But I don't know. It's just something to bring up. It'll be kind of like a continuing conversation, I feel like. But it is frustrating, like the lack of respect that I have noticed personally that female comics get in comparison to female musicians. It's like so respected in one field and so disrespected in another field, and I'm exactly the same person in both fields. So it's just weird. I notice it. I see it with my own eyes. And again, I'm not like a feminist. I'm not an activist. This is just a genuine observation that I've noticed. And if you don't believe me, like I said, go to that post that Nikki Glaser, you know, just posted and read it for yourself and look at the comment section. You'd be really surprised, like how many people hate on her so much. It's like ridiculous. And, you know, it's like Nikki Glaser, I've seen her perform live. She jokes about sex a lot. That is true. But she is such a brilliant, like quick-witted woman. Like have you ever seen her do a roast? Like she's so like on the tip of her toes. She's a fucking genius. And like for the people to criticize her like that, it's like, what are you doing with your life? Like, are you a famous comic? Have you made all these fans and made all this money doing comedy yourself? So like, who the fuck are you to even criticize? You know what I mean? It's like I said, the only male comics who are actually out there doing the work would never say that, or like, I can't speak for all of them, but just from what I've seen, male comics have like a lot of respect for female comics. It's only the non-comics that would have that opinion that aren't out there doing the work themselves, you know? And not only that, but like as a comedian, do you know how many like dudes talk about sex on stage and how much respect they get from the audience? So I think that's another reason why like male comics they're a lot more supportive of female comics, because they know they're out there doing dick jokes, and they know how hard it is to not joke about sex on stage. Like I do feel like joking about sex on stage is so common amongst comedians, because like when you think about it, it's like we live our day-to-day lives, and you know, we go to work, we were teachers, we're businessmen, we wear suits, we go to work, and we have to suppress like all these thoughts we're having. So when you go to a comedy club, or like when you go to write jokes, like it's like, okay, let's talk about what we've been hiding like for in our entire workday. you kind of want to talk about like what's really going on in your mind. And like, so it makes so much sense to talk about sex on stage, because this is something that you have to suppress like throughout the day. So I don't know. It's just like, it's something I wanted to bring up. It's something I have noticed. And again, like, I think I want to kind of evolve my comedy persona and my comedy character as one that plays into these like polar extremes. Like, I kind of want to present myself on stage as like super feminine looking, but I want to talk about like raunchy shit, because I fucking support Nikki Glaser. I think she's a brilliant woman. And I think there needs to be, more acceptance of like the spectrum of human beings, like that a woman can be gorgeous, a woman can be beautiful and feminine and sexy, and also talk about sex and make dick jokes or vagina jokes or whatever on stage, and that doesn't make her any less like respectable. I just kind of like, I would like to see things evolve that way. So anyways, I wanted to bring that up. I'm going to bring that up more, like that's a longer conversation. I'm going to bring that up more with my podcast guest this Wednesday, who is a male comic. So it'll be interesting to see his perspective on that and what he has to say. Next topic. I think I said before, I'm not doing a Q&A today, so it's going to be all topics today. Next topic, personal life update. For those of you know, I've been trying to move to New York City. It's been quite a financial struggle. I was going to try to make it this lease. I cannot make it this lease. My finances did not allow me to do that. But I have one more year in this apartment, and then I'm going to be setting a goal to figure out how to do it next year. I think a year is plenty of time to figure out a solution to the problem. But just know that I'm actually really satisfied with where I am right now. I've only been in this apartment 1 year, so it's probably not a bad thing that I just like allow one more year here to just like really settle in and not always be on the go and always on the move type of thing. Not only that, but I live in a town that has a train to New York City, and it's only like an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, that is a little bit of time. And I could drive into the city because the train gets a little expensive, but personally, I actually don't mind paying the price. I think it's like $30 round trip. I don't mind paying that price, because to me, it's like time is money. And if I'm paying the $30 round trip, I'm basically paying for 2 hours, right? So like, or like 2.5 hours, if you calculate like the extra 15, 20 minutes, I'm basically paying for 2.5 hours a day to not have to do shit, because I'm sitting on the train. And by not having to do shit, it actually gives me time to take out my notebook and write song lyrics, write comedy notes, write, plans, like plan my life. So it's like, yeah, it would be cheaper for me to drive into the city, and like maybe drive up to a train station that's like a little bit, oh my God, Nia, you're so cute. It would be, a lot cheaper for me to drive somewhere like right outside of the city and take the train in. But it's like, you know what? I think that time is money and time is valuable, and it would be nice. It's really nice to just like sit on the train and, like I said, write my notes and everything like that. So I've been doing that. So it's not like me staying another year is holding back my dreams, because like I live an hour away from New York City. So it's really not the end of the world. And not only that, but like if I were to be able to get into the city by this November, I would have to work constantly around the clock, just like nonstop. And that to me is dumb, because it would just kill my workflow of like working on my stand-up, working on my podcast, working on my song. So it's like, for me to move there, I need to take a more balanced approach so I can balance everything out and balance my life out. So it didn't happen this year, sadly. But if I rewind back to my 2021 goals, I remember in the beginning of the year I made it's crazy that 2021 is almost over. It's gone so fast. But I remember I had a list of goals I wanted to finish, and one of my goals, it wasn't to move this year, it was to know where I was going to move this year. So I have done that because I know I want to move to New York City. Now the next goal is just to get me there by 2022 when the next lease is over. Now Jazzy's here stealing Neo's spot. But anyways, I just want to update you guys with that. But don't worry, I'm actually very happy. I'm in a very good spot. I have my physical health. I wouldn't say I'm financially rich, but I'm financially stable. I love this apartment. I love that I can still get to the city. You know, it's a little pricey, but I love that I could still get there. I love my town. Right now I've been having more friends than ever, which has been really nice. Like I've been like doing really well with making friends. So I'm doing really well. Okay, next topic. That was my little life update for you guys. The next topic is a little heavier and it's a little, it's again one of those things that's going to be a much longer conversation. Like there's no way I'm going to get all I have to say out now, but I kind of want to start the conversation, I guess you could say. Spirituality. I want to talk about spirituality, God. I want to talk about that type of stuff. So it's a little bit heavier, a little more serious. I talked about something like this on one of my podcasts and I called it Sermon Pranzatelli Hour. So we can call this, when I talk about spirituality, we can call it Sermon Pranzatelli Hour. So for those of you who know me, I find it interesting that on this podcast, I attract so many atheists and nihilists because I've had a lot of my podcast listeners like comment in the comment section. They're like, I'm an atheist, I'm a nihilist, and a lot of them say they're like positive nihilists. By the way, guys, if I can't, one of my listeners was like, can you stop playing with your hair on the podcast? I'm just so excited to have hair that I can't stop touching it. Like for those of you who know, I've been like trying so hard to grow out a pixie cut. That was like a really stupid decision I made a few years ago, and it takes a long time to grow out. So I'm just so excited to have hair. So if you see me like combing my hair or touching my hair, it's because like I'm just like stoked about my hair. Anyways, that's like a whole nother thing. Okay. I attract a lot of atheists and a lot of nihilists to the point where I was like, maybe I'm a nihilist, but I've been doing a lot of spiritual exploration, I guess you could say, or thinking. Like I've been thinking a lot about my spirituality and who I am and what I believe in. And I've noticed a whole lot of spiritual growth the past month or a few months, I guess you could say. I feel like as far as like my spiritual journey goes, there's been like, you know, peaks and dips all throughout my life. And I feel like right now I'm going a little more upwards on a good path. So I kind of wanted to talk about things I've learned and things I've noticed and things that have been really helping me evolve spiritually. So first of all, I want to say that I consider myself agnostic. I use the word God, but I was raised on like Catholic and Christian sort of, well, those are two very different things. So Catholic, but like there's some similarities between Catholicism and Christianity, but I've been more so raised under Catholic traditions, never believed in it, always thought it was bullshit. At one point I was atheist. Like I would say in my young, probably from the ages like 15 to 23, I would say somewhere around there. In that range of time, I was atheist. I didn't believe in anything. I thought religion was stupid. I noticed a lot of, I don't know, like I felt like I would go to church and feel nothing. Like I would feel like it was, especially in the Catholic church, it was so like draining and so like, it sort of felt like you just did it to like check it off your checklist. Like, all right, like I just confess my sins, say my prayers, and then like go and be an asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Like it felt so dry and so boring and so dull and lifeless. And even like the town I lived in, I felt like when I went to church, it was like, it almost sometimes felt like I would sort of look around and like observe. And even as like a young kid, it felt like I was looking at like a fashion show or something. Like you would see people show up and they're like, their Sunday best, you know, and they'd show up in their best clothes with their like fancy purses and stuff. And they would just kind of be like, they were just doing it to be good. And then they would just go home and be assholes. Like, that's just sort of what I observed about it. So I know, and also I didn't think that, like, I always felt like the Catholic religion was like strict. There were so many rules. You can't be gay. You can't do this. You can't do that. Like, to the point where I was like, if there was a God, I don't think he would be such a dick. Like, I don't think he would be such an asshole. Like, I just don't. So for a long time I was atheist just because of like what I noticed in the church and everything like that. But then at some point I started noticing things. I would say by the time I was like 23, 24, I would start noticing things that didn't make sense to me, that were freaky, that were weird, that started to open my eyes to the thought that, like, okay, like something has to be there. I don't know what it is, but something has to be there. So I'm going to give you some examples of like some of the things that I've seen. And I think it started with dreams. I think my family, like people in my family would tell me about dreams they've had. I would have weird dreams where I would notice that people were just connected very deeply through their dreams. I had mentioned in another podcast video that video podcast, that I had mentioned that I had a dream about, like, I had this weird dream about walking into a big house with like tons of turtles everywhere, like these little turtles, just like a house filled with turtles. Then the next day, my stepmom told me, like, hey, there's an estate sale down the road. A lady passed away. You know, she has a lot of stuff in her house. Let's go check out the estate sale. And then in the lady's house, like, she had collected like tons of little turtles. So I think that might have been like one of the first weird dreams that I had that made me feel like, what the fuck was that? Like, you know, stuff like that. Like when I hear about things like that can't be a coincidence. Like, how could that be a coincidence? Like how, like, you know, Neo's back. How could that be a coincidence that, you know, it was just weird. It was kind of like a prediction or a premonition or something, but like literally, like, I was somehow connected to this woman's death through my dream and through these turtles. It was very strange. So that, I think when I started having like weird dreams like that, that was my first realization that like people are connected. I think people are very deeply connected in the dream life, especially, you know, and I started noticing other things, like, dreams that my family members had that they told me. I'll give you guys like another quick little dream. I this is all building up to a dream that my uncle had that's going to kind of like blow everybody's mind, but I just want to give like a quick dream that I had about cats, actually. So after the turtle dream, not too long after, so growing up, I had 2 cats. I lived with my parents. I had 2 cats. One of them passed away. His name was Stimpy. He was a black cat like Neo, but he was a lot nicer than Neo. No offense, Neo. Neo's being kind of nice now, but he can be kind of an asshole throughout the day. But anyway, Stimpy was this black cat I had growing up. I had him since I was 5 years old. And wonderful cat, kind of stupid actually. Like he was like a stupid cat, which is like goes well with the name Stimpy, because we named him from Ren and Stimpy, and Stimpy was stupid. But he was like stupid in the sense that he was just like clumsy and fat and lazy. Like he was like a very simple cat, but he was very sweet. And so when he was 17, he passed away. I had a second cat that wasn't really my cat. It was my stepmom's cat. So when my dad met my stepmom, she had a cat, we had a cat. So they were kind of like stepbrother cats. So we had Stimpy. And then when my stepmom came into the picture, we had Buddha. So they were like stepbrother cats. Stimpy was black and Buddha was gray. And, you know, Buddha was about the same age as Stimpy. So, you know, Stimpy died at 17. But Buddha, like, he was about the same age. So it's not like he was going to have a long time to live, but he was very healthy. So I didn't think that he would die so soon, you know, and this is where the dream's going. So I remember I had my cat Stimpy just died. I was really sad about it. I had maybe like a week later, I crashed at a friend's house. And we were drinking and we were talking about cats and like I was just kind of like venting to them the loss of my cat, and she was telling me stories about like the loss of a cat she had as well. And, I said to her, I'm really sad that Stimpy died, but at least I have Buddha. Buddha is so healthy. I know he's going to at least live another year. He was 17, but he was just like so healthy. I'm like, at least Buddha is going to live another year. So I ended up crashing at her couch because I was drinking. That night, I had a dream that Stimpy... do you ever have those dreams? Like, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but do you ever have a dream where like it feels real for some reason? Like it feels more real than normal. So I had this dream that I was at her house, the woman's house that I was crashing at her couch. Like that's why it felt real. Cause I was like in the dream, it was like, I was exactly where I was. Like I was at, her name's Lauren. I was at my friend Lauren's house. I was on her couch, and in the dream, Stimpy, the cat who died, jumps on the couch that I was sleeping on. And I remember in the dream saying, Stimpy, dreams don't make any sense. So in the dream, Stimpy could talk. I said, Stimpy, why are you here? I said, you're dead. I remember saying that in the dream, and Stimpy responded, no, okay, I'm messing it up. I said, Stimpy, why are you here? You're supposed to be dead. Shouldn't you be Buddha? Like, meaning that if a cat was going to jump on my lap, it would make more sense if it was Buddha, because Buddha's alive. And then he goes, in the dream, Stimpy spoke, and he goes, Buddha's with me too now. Fucking weird shit. I woke up the next day, and my dad had called me and said that Buddha died. So again, like, these are just things that are undeniably weird. So, again, like kind of going back to where I was in the beginning of the story, I was atheist at this point. Before that, I was atheist, didn't believe in the Catholic religion. But at this point, I'm having all these weird dreams, and I'm starting to believe in something. And the only thing I can really confirm at this point is like, okay, people are connected in their dreams. Like, definitely, I had the dream about the turtles. I had the dream that like Buddha died and then he died. Like I must have been dreaming it as he died or something like that. It was just very strange, very weird, like kind of gives you chills up your spine type of thing. Now here's a dream I want to share with you guys that's really fucking freaky. And it wasn't a dream that I had. It was a dream that my uncle had. And I think this is like, at this point, it's like, okay, this is like undeniable. I've seen enough evidence that like something is out there that if I wasn't going to believe it now, I would be in denial and I'd be an idiot. But anyway, so let me tell you guys about this dream that my uncle had that really freaked me out. I was about 27 years old, and I would say, I've had a traumatic life, I guess you could say. Like, I've had a lot of sad things happen in my life, a lot of painful things happen in my life, but this was the worst point of my life. And it wasn't even because like the most traumatic things were happening to me at that point, but it was because I was just like at a very helpless point in my life where everything was going wrong, and I was deeply depressed. So I would say like probably, everything was going wrong. Like, I didn't have my health. I had been living with chronic pain for about 1.5 to 2 years at this point, something like that. I had like a debilitating wrist injury that stopped me from playing piano. I had like a chronic back pain that I was dealing with, to the point where I was like bedridden, and I was only 27. And like, I remember going to doctors and being like, I'm in such pain, like somebody help me. And nobody could tell me what was wrong with me. Nobody could fix it. The doctors thought I was crazy. Like, they were like, this is in your head. Like, you're so young and healthy. Like, they would just look at me and be like, you look great. Like, you're lying. Like, they would just like sort of think I was lying. Which is like funny now, because like if I go to the doctor and complain about pain now, they don't think I'm lying, which must mean like I've aged quite a bit. But anyways, back then I was like looking great, you know what I mean? So like when I would go to the doctors, people would be like, yeah, you're lying. Like, you can't possibly be in this much pain. So I wasn't getting any answers. I didn't have health. I didn't really have any love in my life. Like, I remember I was in a relationship with like an abusive guy. And that was, and like, that's like a whole nother story for a different time. But just like a side note about that, like, people don't realize like if a woman ends up in an abusive relationship, they just sort of assume she's weak, but like, you don't know like how easily that could sneak up on you. Like, that's like a whole side story. But anyways, forget that. I want to get to the main point, like my uncle's dream. So yeah, I had no health. I was in a horrible relationship. I didn't have any support and love in my life. I didn't have a lot of friends at this point in my life. So it wasn't like I could even have anyone to really vent to. My best friend at the time, she lived in Nashville. So, I could call her and talk to her, but it's not like she was like physically there. So, and we just kind of drifted apart a little bit because of how far she was. I wasn't really on close speaking terms with my family. It's not like anything bad was happening necessarily, but I would say back then my family had their own set of issues, and I don't want to get into that because I love my family now. I'm on really good terms with my family now, but at the time we just weren't like really open with each other, and I didn't feel as comfortable opening up to them for, various reasons. And so it really just, and then financially, I was financially in ruins. Like, I had mountains of student loan debt, mountains of credit card debt. Because of my physical pain, I wasn't working a lot. It was just literally the worst time in my entire life. Like, it was the lowest point of my life. God forbid, I hope I never get to that point again. But that was a low point in my life. And so I remember, now here is where we get to the dream. I remember I did have a part-time, like I said, I wasn't working all the time, but I was working part-time. And I did have a part-time job teaching Spanish. It was actually kind of an interesting job. I kind of missed this. It was like, I taught Spanish to like white people. No, actually, some of them were Indian, but basically English-speaking factory workers, because apparently a lot of like the staff spoke Spanish and the office workers spoke English. So like there was just a lack of communication, and they hired me to teach their English-speaking workers to learn Spanish so that they could communicate better with the factory workers, which was like actually like a really fun job. But I remember I was in the middle of teaching a lesson once, and I was teaching a group of like 5 people. Like, when I say the workers, like it wasn't like a group of like 20 people, like a college class. It was like 5 people. I was teaching a group of like maybe 4 or 5 people. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the lesson, I just looked at them and I was like, I have to go. And they didn't even question me. I think they could just like see in my eyes that something was really wrong. It wasn't even like, oh my God, what's wrong? Are you okay? They were just like, go. They just knew something was off. I remember I'm getting, oh my God, I'm like, I don't want to cry, but I'm getting the chills just thinking about it, because like it kind of like just talking about it feels so real. I just remember like teaching the class, and then like I said, this was like in the middle of like the lowest point of my life. So like, I remember being in this class, like having to pretend to be okay and just not being okay at all. And I just remember, like just looking at them and saying like, I have to go. And they were just like, okay. And I told them I had a fever. Like, I didn't, but I just said that because it like, I had to come up with something. I was just like, I have a fever. I have to go. And they were just like, okay, go. Like, they knew something was wrong. I literally called the hospital. I got in my car and I called the hospital, and I was just like, I called them and I was like, I don't know how to explain this, but I feel completely numb. I think I'm going to die. Like, that's what I just like called the hospital and said that. I was like, I don't even know how to explain it, but my entire body feels numb. Like, I don't feel anything anymore. I feel like I'm going to die. And I'm like, is this an emergency or is this in my head? Like, and they were just like, if you're feeling numbness, like, it could be an anxiety attack, but you should come in just in case it's like nerve issues. Like, I don't know. They probably just wanted my money. They probably knew it was an anxiety attack. But, so I checked myself into the hospital, and when I went to the hospital, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my boyfriend because, like I said, he was abusive. So he wasn't like he was going to help. I literally didn't tell him. I just went there by myself. I didn't tell my family. I just remember thinking like I said, I love my family now. So I'm just like kind of explaining this for the purpose of the story. I felt like at that point in my life, my family was more selfish than they are now. They're like pretty loving and giving now. But at the time they were very like self-centered. I guess you could say like they were just kind of more into like what they were doing, and they didn't really like pay attention to me or my life, I guess you could say. So I just remember thinking to myself like, I'm not going to call my family and have them come check on me in the hospital. They're just going to make me feel worse. Like they're just going to like talk about whatever, they're just going to talk about themselves. Like I'm going to be here dying, and they're going to make me feel even worse because they're just going to talk about like the news or something. Like I just remember just thinking like, I don't want my family here. I don't want my boyfriend here. I don't have anyone. I don't have any friends. Like I think I'm going to die, and I'm just going to die alone. Like that's how I felt. And okay, this is like hard to talk about, but so I stayed there overnight, and then they released me the next day and told me that I just had an extreme anxiety attack. The next day, my uncle calls me and he says, he's like, I don't want to freak you out. He goes, but I had a dream about you last night that felt so real that I had to call and check on you. And he said that in the dream, I was laying in a hospital bed, which I was in real life. He said I was laying, and by the way, he said that like he woke up in a sweat. Like he woke up like, he said it just felt so real. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like certain dreams just feel real. Like the cat dream I had felt real when the cat died in my dream. But he was like, it felt so real. And he said in the dream, I was laying in a hospital bed, and I was saying that I would have to call him to get the exact quote, but he was basically describing exactly how I felt. Like he was basically saying like that I was basically saying, I can't rely on my family. If I invite my family, they're just going to talk about themselves. I can't invite anybody. I just want to die. And he said that in the dream. I mean, this part's actually kind of funny because like my uncle's a music fan. He said there was like literally a stairway to heaven. That's so fucking corny. And he was like, I know I got that from Led Zeppelin. He's like, but nevertheless, there was like a staircase going up and to heaven. And he said that I was just trying to walk up it. Like he said that I was just like trying to get up there. He said that in the dream I was, and again, like I'm just quoting him, but it was something like, I think he said that I was like trying to go up this staircase, and I was saying I have nothing left here. Like I just want to go. Like I have nothing left to live for. Like I just want to go. And he was basically like stopping me from going up the staircase. He was like, no, stay. Like you can't do this. You can't go yet. Like you stay. So like it's like really intense to think about that. And here's the funny thing, like he was actually an atheist, so he was trying to like intellectualize why he had the dream. He's like, well, I did know you were depressed. And I'm just like, but like there's just some things that can't be a fucking coincidence. Like, yes, I was depressed at the time, but like you dreamed my exact feeling, and I'm getting the fucking chills even describing this to you because it just like feels so real even to like talk about it. But like yes, I was depressed, but you dreamt me being in the hospital at the exact time I was in the hospital, and you had dreamt my exact feeling. You dreamt my exact feelings that I was having. You said the things that I was saying in my head. Like, so again, it's like, there's a connection. Like people are deeply connected to each other. Almost telepath. Like I'll be honest, I kind of believe in telepathy. I don't know if that's like the right way to like say the word, but telepathic. I think telepathy is the word. I believe in telepathy because of how deeply people are connected in their dreams. Like I really, and I think at this point, that's when I started to really open up more spiritually, first of all, to the idea that people are connected. And at that point, oh my God, I just dropped my hair comb and I scared Neo away, but it's all right. He's a scaredy cat. I started opening up more, and then I started playing around with like literally trying to talk to people. Like I was like, let me just like try to talk to people like telepathically. Like, let me try to like sit down. And really what this manifested into was prayer. I would then start praying, even though, like I said, I didn't necessarily believe in God, but I believed in telepathy and I believed in the connection of people through their dreams. So I was like, what if I just like actively tried to connect to people and like speak to them directly, which essentially is prayer. So then I started praying often and like almost every day at this point. And I started noticing like shit when I would pray, shit would happen freakishly fast, that it couldn't be coincidental. Like, I don't know, like I'll give you a recent example because it still happens today. Like a recent example would be, I remember I was having like an argument with somebody in my family and I just prayed for them. I just prayed like, I know we're not on speaking terms, but just let them know that I love them. I would pray to God. I would say, God, let them know that I still love them and I really hope they're doing okay. We hadn't spoken like for like a year. And then the next day she emailed me and she goes, oh my God, I was just thinking of you like out of nowhere. And I just want to know if you're doing okay. You know, like how could I see this much evidence of something going on in my life? Like I would have to be stupid, like not to believe that something is there. And again, so I use the word God, but I don't use it in a Catholic or Christian type of way. I kind of use it loosely to describe something that's bigger than me that I don't understand. Like it's like, I don't know what else to call it. They've been calling it God for centuries. So like, I just say God, but to me, God is this power, like this thing that is bigger than me and in all of us. And I definitely, I'm not an atheist anymore. I'm definitely more of, I am agnostic, meaning I know this is here. Don't know what the fuck it is, but I know it's there. And I know I can confirm with you that there is an immense connection between human beings. Like if you're thinking about someone, there's a good chance they're thinking about you. Like if you can't get someone out of your mind, there's a good chance they're also thinking about you. And then prayer works. It really, really, really works. You know, I want to get to a couple other topics, so I'm probably going to do a video or talk more in depth about how to pray effectively and like how to kind of like manifest maybe certain desires you have through prayer. I feel like that could be like a good video, but for now, what I'll say is like, if you pray, it has to be in your heart or else it doesn't work. Like, for me, prayer happens kind of spontaneously. So for example, like if I cry or something feels really intense inside my body, I pray for it right then and there because like it's really there. It's really in my body. It's really there. Like, I personally find it really hard to manifest things into reality through like prayer. Like if right now, if I was to sit here and say, I pray to be a nurse one day, it would never happen because I don't really feel that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's hard to pray for something that isn't really in your heart. But if it's in your heart and you feel it, fucking drop your shit and get on the ground and fucking pray for that shit, because I'm telling you, it'll work. Like it's crazy. But anyways, that's like, I want to get more into that for another time. So I put a little bullet list here because again, this is like a longer conversation. I want to maybe get some like guests on this channel that maybe know more about spirituality so I can kind of discover it more with them. I can talk for hours about this. So I wrote some bullet points. Let's see, I got Uncle's Dream, Power of Prayer, Hinduism. Okay, so I'm not a master at Hinduism, so I don't want to get into like all the details of the Hindu religion because I'm just learning about it. But I wanted to kind of bring it up because so far, I've been reading about and exploring a lot of different religions, and so far, Hinduism aligns the most with what I've personally noticed. Again, I'm just recently exploring Hinduism and I'm recently discovering it, so I can't sit here and say like that I'm a Hindu or whatever, but I can't even like really describe in full detail like everything about Hinduism because it's new to me. But so far, things I've read about Hinduism are extremely like powerful and like stood out to me like, holy shit, this makes so much fucking sense, way more sense than the Catholic religion. And by the way, side note, feel free to comment on anything as I go along in this podcast, because I know like I'm talking about some controversial things. I might piss off some atheists about talking about this stuff. So I'm very open to discussion. Just be respectful. Like, don't be mean to me. But like, if you disagree with anything I'm saying, bring it up in the comment section. Or if you agree with anything I'm saying, like if you're like, yeah, like I've had weird dreams too, like whatever, I want to know whatever it is that you think, whatever it is that you have to say. I'm open to everything. Just please be respectful. But anyways, so I was talking before about spiritual growth and how I've been growing spiritually this year, and I'm on like a high point. So I'm going to talk about the things I learned first, and then I'm going to connect that to what I've learned about Hinduism. But one thing I'm learning is that, and I've been learning this a lot this year, and I've been applying it effectively in my life, is that in order to find true peace and true happiness in your life, you have to realize that, okay, well, first of all, I believe that every single person in this life yields some sort of gift, you know? And that gift can manifest in totally different forms, but I really truly believe that every single one of us has a gift. And it doesn't matter how grand or how small that gift is, but you have a gift and your purpose is to align with that gift. For example, I saw Mark Normand recently, and his gift is to bring joy and laughter to the world. Like that, like you can just, that's why I love him so much, is because you can just see how much in alignment he is with his gift and his purpose in this life. Like he is fucking born to make people laugh and make people feel good. And just like seeing him at a show, like I don't even want to get into it, but like, because I don't want to get off track, but let's just say he's kind of like, even if he's not a religious or spiritual person, he's acting in a spiritual way and he might not even realize it. But so this is where I'm getting to next. So we all have a gift, and your job, your duty in this life is to find your gift. Here's the second part of this, where I think that Mark Normand is aligned with this and he doesn't even realize it. Like he might not even, maybe he does realize it, but it could just be like totally coincidental. But the second part of being aligned with your gift is realizing that your gift isn't about you, it's about serving others. That like total fucking mind-blowing shift in my life that I've been having the past few months, that has made my life so much better and so much easier. Because, for example, okay, I do stand-up comedy. I could look at it as like, and a lot of us do, a lot of us make this mistake in whatever it is that we do. It's not always about comedy. It's like whatever it is that you do, you can apply this to anything. So I do stand-up comedy. There are days in comedy where I'm like, do they like me? Do they did I make them laugh? Do they accept me? Do they love me? Do they approve of me? Like there's a lot of times in comedy where if I make them laugh, I feel loved. But that's the wrong approach. That's the total wrong approach. So comedy is the gift, but it's not about me. It's not about me getting points. It's about me giving that gift to others. And so now shift this perspective. It's not about being desperate to make others laugh so that you can feel good about yourself. It's about being eager to make others laugh so that you can make them feel good. And once I've made that shift in my life, it's made it so much easier it's so much easier to do the right things. Like, so for example, like as a singer, right? I had a gig the other day, and one of my friends was like, I'm really excited to see you. It was her birthday. And she was like, I'm really excited to see you play for my birthday. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, like it's not her coming to me, like, cause I'm so awesome. I mean, listen, you also have to have love and respect for yourself. So there's like a whole nother part of the conversation of this. That's like a totally different story. It's like, you have to take care of yourself and be selfish at times, but that's not what this is about. Like, that's not what this conversation is about. So what I'm saying is that it's not about like, oh my God, I'm so loved because she's choosing me. I'm servicing her. Like, I have to do a good job because it's her birthday. Like, you know, and like, once you make that shift, it just makes life so much simpler and easier to even take care of myself. Like, I remember the day before I did a stand-up like show. I did an event, and, you know, people were like, do you want a drink? Do you want a cigarette? Do you want to smoke a little weed? Whatever. And do you want to stay up? And I'm just like, I can't do any of that. I'm sorry. I have to go home and go to bed because I have a singing show tomorrow. And they were like, wow, that's like really responsible of you. Like, I wouldn't give a shit. I would just smoke cigarettes. Like, what? And the thing is, like, because I made that shift, that like, it wasn't really about me. It was about her. Like, I have to take care of myself so that I can do a good job for her and for all the people that are there to see me. And like, once you make that connection that like, what you do really isn't really for you, it's for others. I don't know, things just flow easier. Like, I don't want to sound like gay or cliche or stupid or corny, but really, like, love is the answer to everything. Like giving love is. I used to like hear this all the time, and I used to think it was so stupid. I used to see like this thing that said, God is love. And I'm just like, what the fuck is that? That's so stupid. But as I get older, it makes so much more sense to me. Like, to me, that God is love. I don't understand what's going on, but I do know that if I can give love and if I can give warmth and happiness and gifts to others, I am aligned with like my spirituality. So it's kind of like it went from being the corniest fucking thing I've heard to like the smartest thing I've ever heard. Like, God is love. Like, don't worry about God being this mean, nasty, evil creator. He's love. Like, you have God, you have love in you, you know? Anyways, like, so I would say spiritually, those are the two things that have been helping me a lot lately, is realizing that my purpose in this life is to find my gifts and then serve others with them. And my purpose is to give love to others. Now I'm going to go back to like the Hinduism topic. That like I said, there's so much more exploring for me to do, for me to even really decide if like I truly believe in this religion, or if I'm like, maybe I want to become a Hindu. I don't know. But like, I have a lot more exploration to do. But what I've noticed so far about the Hindu religion is that one characteristic of this religion is that in Hinduism, they practice that they believe that God is in all people. And that really aligned with kind of like what I was just saying, where it's just like, we all have this gift and we all have the capacity to love. And therefore, like, you know, I think we're all broken and we're all battling, you know, we're all battling. Sometimes it's a journey to love, you know, because we're all broken, we're all sad. And I think the easier thing to do is to take out your aggressions on other people. I haven't always been, you know, in a good spiritual place. There's been times where I've mistreated people. There's been times where I've said mean things to people just to protect my ego. And I think that is universal to the human experience. I think we all experience that at some point in our lives. We're all selfish. We all battle with the opposite end of love, which I guess would be evil. Like we all have like a devil and an angel in us, and which is, I like, again, I don't really believe in like heaven or hell. So it's weird to say that, but that's just like the analogy that I could think of. It's like we all have a little angel and a little devil, and the path to spiritual development is to follow that angel, like follow the love more than the evil. So that was like one thing about Hinduism that like really made sense to me, is that in Hinduism, they believe that love and God is in everybody, and you should try to see the good in everybody. Another thing that I learned about Hinduism is that they believe in something called dharma. I think it's spelled Dharma. I don't know if I'm spelling it correctly, but they believe that dharma is your purpose, and your purpose in life is to find your dharma and be in alignment with your dharma, which goes in alignment with like I said, with what I've personally noticed is like we all have a gift in this life, and our job is to find it and then use that gift to be of service to others. And again, there's a huge spectrum of possible dharmas, sometimes your dharma could be you're an amazing mother and that's your gift. Sometimes your dharma could be, a chef, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you're an amazing chef and it's like there's an enormous spectrum of possible gifts that you can bring to the world. And I think it's your job to find yours. And, this could be like another video for another time that maybe I could put out. But if you're struggling to find what your gift is, I would say follow your intuition of what feels right, and then keep like trying and keep searching, But anyways, that's like a whole nother thing, But I don't know, like so far from what I've read about Hinduism, I really liked those philosophies. And I'm like, that makes so much fucking sense to me. I like that, and I want to read more about it, and I'll like bring up more topics when I should like go look into like a audiobook or something about it. The last thing I want to talk about is, I guess, a spiritual dilemma that I'm having, where I don't know how to get past this point of spiritual awakening, I guess you could say. And I think this has always been my breaking point, where I would be on like a path of spiritual development, and then I would kind of crash because of this exact point. So I kind of want to like explore that with you guys. So leave in the comment section below if you have any ideas for anything I'm about to say. So what I'm about to say, if love is in all people, and the purpose of life is to find the good in other people and give love to people, even when it's really hard, how do you love people who are genuine like pieces of shit? Like, and like even the fact that he just phrased it that way shows that I'm not like ready for this part of spiritual development, because it's very confusing to me. There are some people out there who are genuine, like will not change. Like good isn't everybody, but how do I love Charles Manson? Like, you know what I mean? Like how do I find the love in Charles Manson? And so I guess this is like a spiritual dilemma I'm having, because there are some people out there who can love. There's some people out there who have the power and the ability to love and forgive people who have murdered their kids. Like, I mean, this like exists. There are some people that have been in the court and have given hugs to the person that murdered their child. Like, and I'm not there. I'm not that spiritually evolved. This is my biggest like struggling point, that I don't know how to navigate this. And I'm gonna, maybe when I explore more about Hinduism, maybe like there will be some more answers in there for me, or if anybody out there has some answers for me, leave it in the comment section below if you have any ideas. But like, I think that's always been my biggest struggle, is like understanding how to navigate that. How do you deal with like genuinely hateful people that don't want to change? And it sort of like begs the question for me, like, is it possible that some, and I'm not saying this is, it's more of like a philosophical question. Maybe some people have the purpose of being evil. As dark and scary as that is, like good, there needs to be contrast in life, And I mean, it's hard to say that though, because that's like, it kind of gives like a lack of hope for certain individuals. Like, cause I don't want to, like, if anybody who's listening to this is like, man, like I'm struggling with dealing with my ego, maybe my purpose is to follow my ego. Like, I don't really believe that either. but it just like begs a philosophical question, like Hitler, right? Is there good in Hitler? Like, was there love inside of him? Or maybe was his purpose, like, maybe there's like truly some people who were born to like be evil. I mean, and I don't know. I'm not sure. So it's like a really confusing thing for me. Like that's just like one part of my spiritual development that I don't understand. I don't understand how to navigate. I mean, okay, that's even like that's like a huge topic, but like even if I bring that to simpler topics, like if I have a friend who's constantly hurting me, how do I deal with that? What's the appropriate way to deal with that? Because I've had situations like that recently where like I've let friends go because they were overstepping boundaries of mine. And then in hindsight, I thought about it. I'm like, was that the loving thing to do? Should I have done that? Should I have acted differently? How do I navigate that? That's really hard for me, like, to understand. And that's like something I'm thinking about, like how to deal with people how to love people that really are truly not ready to evolve themselves spiritually, who are really kind of like stuck into their ego, I think for now, the best explanation that I can kind of like give myself is that like, it's okay to distance yourself from certain people as long as you do so in a loving way. So for example, like if you have to let go of a friend, as long as you do it with love and respect, that's like the best you can do, because again, you can't really give, your purpose in life is to give to others. But you can't give to others if you're just depleted yourself. So I do think it's okay to distance yourself from certain people that are kind of like taking away from your, I don't know. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't know. See, this is what I mean. Like it's such a dilemma for me. I see a lot of contradictions in even my own ways of thinking about this topic. It's very confusing for me. But like I said, like I do think that in certain cases, it might be necessary to distance yourself from people if they're kind of like, if your relationship with them, I hate the word toxic, by the way, like that's like, I'm trying to like find a better word than toxic. I don't like toxic because I think that everybody is toxic. Like, I think we all have toxic tendencies. So to like label somebody as toxic, it's like, I don't know. It's just kind of like harsh to me. Like I believe again that we all have this angel and a devil. And if somebody is like following their devil a little more than their angel, it's like they're toxic. It's like, well, but aren't we all? Like, don't we all have that in us? So it's like hard for me to label somebody as toxic. But anyways, like if certain relationships are toxic to you, then I think it's okay to distance yourself from them in order to continue your own spiritual evolution. But that, I would say that's like my next thing to tackle in all this is like, what's the appropriate way to deal with people who suck? Like, how to love people who suck. What's the right way to do it? I don't know. Very confusing topic for me. But anyways, that was a lot. That was some heavy stuff. I'm curious to know what your comments are in the, like what you think about all that. So leave any comments in the comment section below. Like, have you had any weird dreams? Are you, even after listening to this, are you still an atheist? Why are you an atheist if you are an atheist? Are you Catholic? Are you spiritual? Like, some people just classify themselves as spiritual. I really want to know like what all your thoughts are on all of this. Or like I said, if you have any like spiritual answers to how to deal with like people who suck, like is it appropriate to forgive like Hitler, like, you know what I mean? Because some people would say it is. I don't know, there's a lot to talk about today. It's going to be an ongoing conversation. At some point I want to get like a podcast guest that is a theologian of some kind, like studies religion, or maybe like a yoga teacher, like something, like somebody who's like really in the spiritual world, and I kind of like would like to have a deeper conversation and ask them questions. Maybe they might know more than me about a lot of this stuff. But anyways, that was a heavy podcast today, but I really wanted to talk about that. I hope I helped somebody in some type of way, open their mind to anything. before I leave, don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit like if you liked this. This is the Pranzata podcast. Again, I interview local musicians and local comedians in the New Jersey, New York City area, sometimes Philadelphia area also. And then I do solo podcasts such as today, and I do music videos as well. But that's it. Episode number 27, Pranzata podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Bye.